what I think is a kind of new strain of horror movie, which I call woke horror. I mean, just for lack of a better word. And it's the type of horror movie that really wants to make some sort of social commentary and like teach you a lesson. And I think that the genesis of this horror was, a few years ago, we had kind of a wave of like smart horror movies like The Babadook and It Follows. And I really like both of those movies, by the way. And I think that with those movies, because there was some foregrounding of social commentary, that did kind of lead the way for then a whole host of other movies to be like, well, what if we like dialed it up to here and like really said something about society? So I think the movie that is probably most representative of this genre, which by the way, is a movie I don't hate, is Get Out. I liked it when I saw it, but I also noticed, like after it came out, at the time I was working at like, this liberal think tank where all of my colleagues were sort of people who like thought that West Virginians should be denied health insurance because they voted for Trump. Like that was just like the general political milieu. They hated horror movies, but they all really liked Get Out because it was like, if I like Get Out, it shows something about me as a person, like, like liking, like it shows that I'm down with like something lowbrow, aka a horror movie, but at the same time, I'm really smart because like I was able to like, I don't know, like see this social commentary and it's really good, you guys.
You got to do an anti-racism.
You got to do an anti-racism by going to the movies.
Yeah. You realize that you're not like the Bradley Whitford character. You're not like one of those liberals who's like, fake progressive or something, that you're something else. You're cooler.
Yeah. I have a much worse woke horror movie example that I want to dive into because it's like so over the top. But before I do you guys have any thoughts on Get Out? Like I thought it was good, but like you shouldn't hate a movie just because like people at a liberal think tank like it, obviously.
Yeah, no, I like some movies that the libs like too, but Get Out, I'm with you. Like I thought it was good, not great. But the thing about Get Out was that it was like a huge, absolutely massive box office success given its budget. Like I think it cost like $3 million to make, and it made over $100 million. Launched an entire, Blumhouse just then made like a bunch of other very good movies, including some good horror movies. Like I mean, the Invisible Man movie that they made with Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah.
Also kind of in the woke horror genre, and that it's like about like gaslighting or whatever. Yeah. Right. It was good, but they made a whole sort of. But that's the thing about Get Out. So I think that once Get Out was this huge box office success, they were like, oh, this is the thing. We just do like a horror movie and we make it about like, microaggressions or whatever. And,
right.
And then bam, $100 million.
Yeah. I also, I mean, I liked Get Out. I liked it when I saw it. Obviously the reaction to it's pretty obnoxious. It's very clear that, he spent a good deal of time trying to like do the social commentary. And I kind of wish he spent a little bit more time like thinking through like how to do a horror movie, because like he
doing the scares.
By the end of it, he's just kind of like one horror trope after another. And it's like, okay, you got your setup great, because it's all about like, I'm going to show, I'm going to provide this social commentary about what it's like to be a Black person in America. And, these like rich white liberals who voted for Obama, but whatever. Like he has all of that. And like, it's fun. It's like, it's good for a movie. Why not? But then by the end, it just kind of, I don't feel like he kind of pulls it all together as well as he could have. But, and again, I just think like his priorities were pretty obvious, and, whatever. It turned out fine. It sucks that like, that's how we make art, and that's what people like.
Well, I mean, on that note, I want to bring up another like just over the top example of this new genre of horror movie, which I think actually is like doing a disservice, not just to horror movies, but to like social commentary and to film in general. The thing I'm thinking of is the 2019 remake of Black Christmas. I don't know if you guys know or are fans of or remember the 1975 Black Christmas. I think it's actually 74, but it's Canadian, so it was released in the US in 75. But
they have a different calendar.
It's a different Canadian calendar.
Exactly. The Canadian calendar, I mean, you know how all that goes. No, but Black Christmas, I mean, it's a really good movie. The original one, I mean, it's, just a classic. I think it actually came, I mean, obviously, like temporally, it came before like the wave of 80s slashers. So it was kind of like a proto slasher, but it's, about a sorority house and a bunch of girls who are like staying in the house over Christmas break. They start to get like disgusting, threatening phone calls. Surprise, the killer's in the house already. So this was kind of, yeah. So this was kind of like one of the original, like the call is coming from inside the house.
Hello,
Murder
Sydney.
and mayhem ensues, and a final girl lives. So it's a very, very standard slasher fare, which, obviously lots of people see as lowbrow. And I want to read a quote from the New York Times from their review of the original Black Christmas in 1975, because they hated it. So they write, Black Christmas, which landed on local screens a year after its release in Canada, where it was produced, is a whodunit that begs the question of why it was made. The answer is hard to come by. This moody depiction of the Christmas slangs of university sorority sisters and their house mother, among others, is as murky as the script, which dotes largely on obscenities that are no more pointed than the violence, dull direction, and pedestrian performances. That's harsh. That's I feel like people don't even write movie reviews like that anymore. Like that's mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. No, now they would never say something like that. They'd be like, well, they'd be, it could have been better. They can't say anything that mean, because if not, they'll, everyone, I don't know, everyone, you can't write mean things anymore.
Yeah. I was trying, I think it's, when I looked online, it just said, basically it's the editors of the New York Times. I don't know exactly who wrote it, but like Pauline Kael, who's like probably the most important film critic of like the second half of the 20th century, was like the meanest critic. Like she would just write, like she didn't really have a lot of rhyme or reason. It was just like, I like this. I thought this was great. This is good art. That crap, it's awful, terrible. And would just like, but like very precisely like just rip your movie apart if she hated it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In any event, I kind of like to see a mean review. So like whoever wrote that, the New York Times, like even though I love Black Christmas, whoever at the New York Times wrote that, like props to you. But I just want to contrast that with, so in 2019, like I said, there was a remake of Black Christmas that weirdly got 3 reviews in the New York Times. All of them were like overwhelmingly positive. And as you can see, there's one of them that calls the remake of Black Christmas a, quote, Me Too slasher. And basically what this director did was, in her remake, the killer was no longer just like a deranged psychopath calling from upstairs. It was a group of fraternity brothers who just wanted to oppress women who were getting too uppity. So let's watch a clip, actually.
Aren't you tired of fighting against your true nature, right? Just because we're taking our rightful place behind them doesn't mean that we aren't needed. They needed me to collect the objects from the girls so the pledges would know who to go after.
I have a final in 10 minutes and I can't find my Diva cup.
Thanks for the comb, by the way.
How could you do that to your sisters?
I'm helping women. Everything is so out of whack. It's so much easier this way.
You are a traitor!
This is your last chance, Ray. You can join me. We can be good women.
Or we will bring you to your knees, and you will beg for mercy. Still creating problems, huh, Rye? You see, you were given a chance. You were taught how to grow into a proper woman, but you refused to listen. Now it's time to decide. Are you gonna bow to the king when I say bow? Bow. I said bow, bitch. You need a reminder of our power? Fine.
Baby? Who put that there?
It's for the cause.
But I did everything that I was supposed.
He'll do worse than that to you. Your body, your choice.
So I'm sorry, you guys. I just had to show like all like 2-3 minutes of that because have you ever seen anything just so bludgeoning and over the top? It's like the girl who sold out her sisters, she was bad, but it didn't even save her. Do you see what's happening? Do you see what's happening? Do you understand the lesson? The men don't like powerful women.
Now I got it.
You get it?
Go back to the. Can you go back to the reviews? Because I want to read one of them, one of the subheads, because it's like I think it's particularly revealing of like film criticism. Sofia Takal's film isn't particularly scary, but it has plenty on its mind. It's like this movie sucks, but like I agree.
Did you
it had
get
a
the
message.
lesson? Yeah.
I took some notes, and I'm going to apply them later. So
I'm sorry to say, I saw this movie in the theater and I almost walked out at this particular scene because it was like insulting, you know, like don't treat the audience like we're children who need to be taught what social justice is. I mean, I was at the movies with someone, so like I was like, it would be shitty to leave. And the movie was almost over at that point. But like I said, how insulting, right?
I mean, I don't know. I think like middle class libs are children who need to be taught what social justice is. So
hence the 3 reviews in the New York Times, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch Promising Young Woman?
Yeah, with Carey Mulligan.
Yeah,
very similar.
Won very similar, but it won the Academy Award for Best Screenplay. And I remember like when I watched it, I thought I was going to be like either funny or subversive or like follow through on its like kind of horror premise, which they kind of set up, but they don't follow through. She just gives them a good stern talking to. And I just found it again also so insulting in that it treats the audience like absolute children, which like every single scene is like, this is the message in the scene that you just watched.
Yeah.
Move on to the next scene. Now we're going to talk about this kind of new message that we're going to tell you about, very blatantly and on the nosedly. And it's just like, I don't know why, like that's become the thing now. Like no one can, they don't trust people to get any sort of subtlety or irony or I don't know, like something that's just not just completely spelled out by a character. Like, oh, your body, your choice. You see what I did there? Like,
I mean, I wonder to what extent it's just like trying to hold back just like really bad, stupid reviewers who are, like extremely woke reviewers who like don't get what's going on. And like, you really need to spell it out so no one gets offended. And so therefore everyone can be like, yeah, no, it's good. It's positive. It's about like, it's the scary things, but it's positive. So you can go see this and you can like feel good about yourself and you're not like, because, and we've talked about this before, but just in the ways in which like liberals like think that like looking at art or movies is like somehow like it determines or is like it has to be in line with like their moral judgment, their moral values, their morality, whatever. And
right, and that their consumption of a piece of art or film or whatever is like says something about their moral character.
Yeah, and it becomes like it's the whole consumerist thing where it's like, oh, but if you give money to the people who made the bad art, then you encourage them to make more bad art. And it's like, that's not how this works. Like the things that are like given to you on the market are like the consumer preference is like, it only matters at like at the most kind of macro aggregate level. Like you as individuals saying, I don't think this is like, unless you can organize with people like a massive boycott or something. And even then, they're still going to give you whatever they can turn a profit. So like that your personal like, oh, I'm buying or not buying, I'm supporting or not supporting because of moral reason, whatever, it really doesn't have an effect on this stuff. But I bet like they probably are worried to some extent. I don't know to what extent, but worried to some extent of like woke reviewers like giving it like bad reviews and like hurting its box office performance. And so you just have to hit this so on the head for people because that's who ends up kind of the unfortunate like the fact is that like as free as our markets might seem, you still are going to have these kinds of people that are going to like have way outsized influence in like market decisions. And so, yeah, I mean, when everything is like neoliberal marketized, you're going to get stuff that's just so just like debased and like appeals to the most common denominator, because all the studios really care about is like, I mean, I don't know if it's good art or not, but like, does it give us money? Is this going to bring in like more revenue than if we make this other creative decision?
Yeah. The woke reviewer. I mean, that's a real thing.
Nando, what do you think? Because Nando, I'm watching Nando's expressions right now, because like Nando does this shit, so I'm the outsider.
No, I mean,
Nando writes woke reviews on the weekend.
That's what I do. I'm secretly Noah Berlasky. That's my alt, my Twitter alt. I write under a pseudonym. I mean, I think that one of the shifts that's happened in culture creation is away from a more free market type of thing, which is that like it used to be that you would either make a movie or a TV show. It would have to sink or swim on its own, like by putting asses in the seats in a movie theater, and it was pretty ruthless. Like, if audiences rejected it, and then whatever. Now, because everything goes onto these platforms, and no individual piece of what we would call art or content, to use a dirty word, it doesn't really matter if it sinks or swim on its own. It doesn't even matter how many people individually watch it. What matters is how much kind of buzz it generates and how many New York Mag articles it generates, or in the case of Black Christmas, New York Times reviews, in that it might get people to see that it's being talked about, and they would subscribe to the platform. It used to be like a movie, you had to get actual people to go to a theater, and then you would know exactly how that movie did. It was in a weird way that encouraged better stuff. Now they're just kind of making this everything is like fine, nothing is like super bad, but nothing is great, because they don't need to, as long as they make it okay, and if they can hit a few kind of cultural touch points and get a few think pieces out of it, that's fine.
All the better. Yeah.
And I just want to add, it's not because most people have like bad taste in art or something. I think that's sometimes the argument turns into, bad movies are made because most people like bad things. And I don't think that's the case really at all. I think it's entirely just like, it's these weird specific ways in which like these companies decide they're in fact going to make a profit. Like that's the consideration. I think most people, like, to the extent that they have time to even watch art, like people know, people are probably going to like pick better stuff than worse stuff. It's just like, you don't have many choices. You don't have a lot of time to like enjoy art and think about art. And like, we want a society where more people can actually spend their time doing that.
If you like this video from The Jacobin Show, please hit like and subscribe and share with your friends. Thanks.